In my 2014 Way of the Mister video, The Mormon Testimony, I made the following prediction regarding the church's attitude towards homosexuality. And you mark my words, 25 years from now, if not sooner, they'll be backpedaling on homosexuality like a cat burglar who's accidentally wandered into the home of Ted Nugent and his BFF, Double Barrel Beretta. I don't like to say I told you so. I love it more than anything. Look at this headline from the Idaho Statesman. LDS Church relaxes rules on same-sex marriage, allows baptism for kids of LGBTQ parents. That's right, the church's previous hardline policies regarding homosexuality, which begged the question, are there bigger assholes on the planet, have fallen by the wayside, at least partially. And I predict this slide, shall we call it a backslide, will continue until the leaders of the church finally figure out that it doesn't pay to be a bunch of douchebags following the writings of Bronze Age ignoramuses who didn't know where the sun went at night. I'm not going to go into the specifics here. You can do that if you're interested. Instead, I want to talk about the larger point here. Let's call it, leading from behind. When the central claim of your religion is that you have a prophet of God, receiving revelations from him as in days of old, you can't be the last people in the Western world to jump on the various moral bandwagons of modernity. It makes it appear that you're just another bunch of human beings caving to cultural pressure and figuring things out as you go along. It's almost like you're not connected to any transcendent entity whatsoever. At every turn, Mormons have me asking, what takes you guys so long? And yes, I do mean guys. Civil rights, including the right to marry whomever you want of whatever race, was settled by the late 60s. But it took Mormons another decade to finally allow blacks to hold the Mormon priesthood. Polygamy was settled hundreds or thousands of years ago in parts of the West. But it took Mormons until the late 19th century to figure out how utterly demeaning that practice is. Of course, Mormons are still hell-bent on maintaining the misogyny they've embraced since the very beginning of the church, keeping women from holding the priesthood or any positions of authority or leadership. Why is your God so backwards and unable to figure these things out? And more importantly, why would God allow so much suffering to come from these earlier policies when he absolutely knew that he would change his mind later? The homophobia within the Mormon community has been devastating, particularly to the young who've suffered disproportionately. Doesn't God remember how bad he promised things would be for people who mistreated children? The same is true for the racist policies Mormons embraced and promoted for nearly a century and a half. Are we really supposed to believe that God can't think these things through until we do? Or that this supposedly all-knowing being doesn't know what he's going to do a few decades from now? But it's not just the Mormons. The tribal war god of Abraham condemned adulterous women to death. But centuries later, Jesus said that whoever among us is without sin should cast the first stone. Either Jesus is a backstabber or his father is a complete douchebag. Though let's not rule out the possibility that both are true. My religious friends, if you want the rest of us to respect your supposed moral leadership, or even just take you guys seriously, you're gonna have to get out in front of this shit for once. You can't lock up scientists for telling the truth, hold on to evil institutions like slavery, keep blacks and women from your priesthood, or just be the last to come around on any moral issue. Leading from behind is never becoming, but it's even less so when you're supposed to be connected to a being who's supposed to have seen the path forward from the very beginning, when behind didn't even exist.